It's just a tradition that Monte Vista has, and it felt like it would be wrong to stop now, even with everything being virtual. Everything's kind of weird this year, and we thought that things will be different this year, but as long as we can continue that tradition, everything will work out somehow.
So in previous years, we would have, I think, a group of like 5 to 8 people almost, and it would basically like the groups would be up to the people, up to the students, and we'd pick like different songs that we were interested in, and we would come up with arrangements for 2 or 3 different songs. And that was like usually like one person would like take the initiative of like creating the arrangements, and would basically create parts for like all of the other kids.
And then every day, our choir period would pretty much be dedicated to working on choreo, working on blending our voices. We would, all the groups would find their individual rooms or locations around the school that we could use, and then we would work on maybe going into sections, right? We have a bass section and then a tenor section, and then we try to work on our own individual voice parts before coming together and trying to blend that.
And then a lot of groups tended to work outside of school or put an extra effort into creating the arrangement, to doing the choreography, all that stuff. A lot of after school time goes in.
But it was really fun to be able to work with your friends and just be like your own little dance slash singing group.
I think that there's a lot of things that have changed this year. For one, like, we do have a new teacher this year, so while we are trying to accommodate for the fact that we are online and that is a big change, we also tried to like try out new things slash like have strayed away from some of the old things, because now it's not like a repetitive thing that we have to consistently keep going every year. We can try to change it for this new year, since we have a basically new entire class system.
We had a different way of like drawing the names online and stuff. But it was like the same idea where like kids could like pick their own groups. There were a lot more Zoom meetings to figure out arrangements and stuff, but it was the same idea where one person would like take the initiative of like creating the arrangement, and kind of teaching it to the other kids.
Obviously, I think the biggest difference between previous years and this year would just be that we can't really work on the music at the same time. Whereas in previous years, a big part of working on Singing Valentines was being able to listen to each other, kind of feeding off each other's energy and blending our voices. With the online medium, that's kind of impossible this year. So everyone really just had to kind of work on their own individual parts by themselves. And then the video editor would come in, our sound engineer would come in, and then we'd hope that it all works out.
Instead of like rehearsing it together, we would have like this thing called like an acapella, which is like, it's like this app that we use in choir to create music together. So one person would basically like record their own video, and then other people could add into it. So that's basically how we created like the audio for our Valentine. So as for like platforms that we're using, I know acapella is a super popular one, and I know a lot of other groups are using something called Soundtrap, which basically it's similar, where it allows a project to be created and then like individual voice parts that you can like edit accordingly.
We recorded on acapella, and then we realized we didn't like it, so that's where the music editing came in. I took each one of the individual videos, and like separated them from the acapella clip, and then uploaded them onto my laptop on the GarageBand, where I did like some vocal editing to remove out white noise, create vocal balance, make soloists sound louder than the sound louder than the instrumental part. So like a lot of balance happened there, and then depending on what the vocals were from there on, I added more or subtracted more. One fun little thing in the song that we had, one of the parts was lacking, but it was a spoken part. So I just took someone else's part and then pitched it down so it sounded like a third voice. It was really funny.
One thing that we kept in mind because of the virtual setting was because it's hard to stay together, right? Whereas when we do it in person, we can listen to each other. We can be more in sync by looking towards each other, right? This was impossible to do over the internet. So one thing we had to do was try to be as uniform and precise as possible. And in that, it's like when we're recording our audio, we have to make sure we have a metronome, or we're listening to the track while we're recording, to make sure that we're singing exactly to the beat. Otherwise, if one person's out of tempo, then it's gonna sound a little crunchy. And in terms of dancing, again, if you had a metronome or you're listening to the track while you're dancing, you could sort of get a feeling for the beat.
And then as for like choreo and like visually, we're just having like recordings of ourselves that we're gonna put together on like a visual platform, and then like stitch the audio in.
We wanted to do like I guess more of like the traditional a cappella video of like each of the squares in the corners with one person singing in the center, and then maybe like a fun little background in the back.
Now, like what I'm currently doing is having everyone send me clips of them kind of lip syncing to the song, which I'm going to be putting together on this app called DaVinci, and basically have it so that there's like a solo in the middle and then like surrounded by the background, and basically have the audio going behind that.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey, hey, 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 Mickey, hey, hey.
Once our group kind of agreed on the video and we all really liked it, we moved on to the actual singing gram, which was a little bit easier to do compared to the rest of the things, because once we had the video, that was our final Singing Valentine. The only thing we need to attach was like the traditional card. However, cards don't like usually work this year because we can't like deliver a card. So we have like these Google Slides with the video embedded onto the slide, and then it said like to the person, and then what their little note is.
I gotta say, considering everything was online, everything went a lot smoother than I thought it would.
There used to be a graying tower on the sea. You became the light on the dark side of me.
The real obstacle really was trying to record, and like I said, trying to record in tempo. Having that metronome, listening to that track, because the first time we recorded our audio tracks, it was an experience. Everything was a little shy. It was off. I'll just put it that way, and it was pretty hard to listen to. So, trying to isolate what parts we could have improved on, and then maybe like, hey, in measure 23, maybe the tenors can try maybe emphasizing that rest to help other people come in on the right time in measure 24, stuff like that. Isolating our problems and then re-recording our tracks based on these problems. I think second time around, we all got a better grasp of how we should do it. And then second time around, it definitely sounded a lot better.
I think the main advantage was that there's a lot more like flexibility to like edit it and like perfect it as much as we could, just because it's like online and we kind of have like the tools to do that instead of just like singing it live in front of a class. But yeah, I think the main thing that we're like trying to like make sure we have this year is to keep it like as lively as it was last year, because I know like in previous years it was like a very like exciting experience for like kids to like come in and like sing. So we're trying to like keep it like as upbeat as it has been.
And definitely last year, I think one of the most fun parts about Singing Valentines was we walked into classrooms and sang these smaller songs. Like we would walk into classrooms while snapping and singing Avengers or The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And I think just being fun, improvising on the spot with it, that was, and the feeling of just dancing in front of the classroom with one person sitting in the chair, letting everyone see the fruits of our practicing, of our efforts. That was very gratifying.
I think that like it's really easy to not bring your best and not try to like put in as much effort as you traditionally would. However, I think that a lot of the choir kids, especially Bella Voce and Variations kids, were super like for Singing Valentines, and as much as we were doing this for other people and like getting those Valentines out, we were doing it for ourselves just because we wanted the choir, we wanted good representation for the choir community, and we also wanted to impress ourselves because obviously this is our own final product and we wanted to be happy with it. A feeling that I definitely want to like carry out in the future is just getting work done through passion, because like when it comes to things like academics and stuff, you can be really good about it and you can really just like try to push yourself to be the best you can possibly be. But a lot of that drive comes from wanting to get a good grade, wanting to do well on assessments, wanting to do well on the AP test. Like, it's the final product is like what is driving us, and those final products are really superficial. However, we didn't need a good final product for this final Singing Valentines, but we wanted to make it good. Like, individually, each person wanted to put in the most amount of effort they possibly could so they could be proud of the product. And I feel like that type of drive is unmatched, just because, like, telling yourself that you want to do something for a superficial reason versus telling yourself you want to do it because you're actually driven to do it is completely different. And that's something that I just want to carry on into the future, just because I think that being able to, like, work from that drive will get me to have a more successful outcome and, like, feel more positive about what I'm doing rather than feeling like I'm forced to do it.